Young ladies and gentlemen, good evening to everyone. Once again, you're welcome here on the Ever Consciences platform. In international news, the situation in Russia is becoming very complicated. NATO is not giving up. NATO is not giving up. On this Tuesday, the 3rd of June 2025, around 4 a.m., in the early morning, the UkreNATO operation known as Operation Spiderweb continued its mission in the most impressive way. This time, it was the Crimean Bridge of which they blew up a significant portion. The Crimean Bridge, and it was an underwater explosion. Very rare. We don't know by what means they managed to conceal the device under the sea or how they were able to get it. But what remains clear is that the images have gone viral on social media. And this is more than enough to show that Russia, Ukraine, and NATO have really prepared themselves well, ladies and gentlemen. They have prepared themselves well. So let's dive deeper to see exactly what this is about. But before we continue, I ask you to share the video conference. Share it as much as possible. And above all, give it lots of likes. When I say give it lots of likes, I see people commenting like. That's how it is. You have to like it. That's what we call likes. You have to leave a comment and share. So, according to official and verifiable information, President Zelensky, with the significant help of foreign powers, unequivocally confirms by this act that he is definitively refusing peace. So, after the Spiderweb operation, which made it possible to make several Russian planes disappear. And by the way, regarding the issue of the planes, it should be noted that in an official statement, Ukraine has just lowered the number to 12. There you go. They've reduced the number to 12. Contrary to what they said earlier, that 40 bombers have been hit, it's 12. Even beyond those 12, Russia still has a sufficient quantity. We've talked about it before. So then after that, after derailing the train, this time is the Crimean Bridge that they blew up. A large part of it was destroyed. So what should be said is that, according to official information, this bridge has just been attacked for the third time. The second time it was serious. And this third time is also serious. And for those who don't know, Crimea is that Ukrainian territory that Russia annexed in 2014. And up until now, Ukraine is not ready to give up this territory. Ukraine is not ready at all. Ukraine definitely wants to take back this territory. And in the context of the ongoing negotiations, one of Russia's demands, since Russia already took back Crimea in 2014, is for international recognition of Crimea as an integral part of its territory, along with 3 other regions. Yes. So the conflict revolves around these specific regions. But above all, the issue of Crimea is at the heart of concerns for Ukrainians. According to official information, it was precisely 1,100 kilograms of powerful explosives that they meticulously detonated at the very base of a substantial pylon. Indeed, 1,100 kilograms of these destructive explosives were intentionally set off at the foundational base of a towering pylon. And that caused damage. But the real question, as we mentioned earlier, is how did they manage to get to that point? How did Ukraine do it? Did they continue to use drones? Drones that drop explosives from the sky, or how did they do it? How is it that the Russian intelligence service didn't know about this in advance? How is it that they weren't able to destroy the device before it caused damage? So, as we mentioned in one of our previous video conferences, this is where you have to understand that in a conflict, you can never truly come out victorious. Both sides will have to deal with the consequences. That's what we call collateral damage. And so, what needs to be said is that this is happening at a time when Donald Trump is struggling with peace negotiations and the deep state is pouring fuel on the fire. When we talk about the deep state, we mean the European countries, since they are the ones helping Ukraine. First, they are providing Ukraine with the means they have authorized Ukraine to fire with. How should we call that? Long-range missiles at Russia, but more importantly, they are also involved in preparing these missions as part of Operation Spiderweb. They are actively participating. And so, if we carefully go by the significant statement made by the esteemed Vice President of the Russian Security Council, what has just profoundly happened really means that the Russian Federation might, at some critical point in time, potentially use nuclear weapons. At some definite point, certainly. But for now, in any case, Russia is indeed getting ready for what's next. In conclusion, we are truly facing a real escalation. For nearly 5 days now, the conflict has reached another level. And according to information coming from those close to the Kremlin, Russia will no longer go to the negotiating table. And even if it does go to negotiations, it will just be for show. Just to pretend and say, yes, Russia is ready, etc. But in reality, Russia is not ready to accept anything. And the conditions that Russia has set are unacceptable to Ukraine. These are conditions that are inadmissible in the eyes of the Ukrainians. And the Russian Security Council has been very clear about this. If they go to negotiations, it's also just for show. But otherwise, if it's really to negotiate, it's to negotiate for an agreement, to come out an agreement that gives victory to the Russian Federation. So the question we need to ask ourselves is this. The other question is, how long will Russia be able to hold out? Will Russia continue to stick to its demands? Because it must be said that things are starting to even out. For now, at least at this moment, as I'm recording this video conference, for the time being, Russia has not yet taken any stronger or more dangerous actions than those Ukraine has taken recently. So this means that if Russia was very strong on the battlefield, yes, Russia is very strong, but Ukraine has gained an advantage, a lead, through the actions it has just taken recently. Will Russia continue to stick to its demands, or will it strike hard to eliminate the lead that Ukraine has managed to take? Ladies and gentlemen, that was the top story in the news. I'll be back with more news updates in an hour. This was the voice of your one and only Samurai.